Hello students, today we are going to talk about business to business marketing. So business marketing is marketing of goods and services to individuals and organizations for purpose other than the personal consumption. The sale of PC to a college or university is an example of business marketing. So in the last chapter, we covered the chapter 6, consumer marketing and consumer buyer behavior. We have talked about how people like us, me, or you, or your siblings, or your friends, how we make decisions, and then what the process is that marketers should think about when selling to people. Then they should think about the ultimate personal consumption. Today we are going to talk about B2B as opposite to B2C. The others commonly called the B2C is the business to consumer, and the B2B is the business to business. So to business is basically when one organization sells to another organization, not for the personal consumption, but for the utilization within that business. And this is a really large market, and many companies are involved in selling both directly to the consumers and then also directly to sell other business. But the process that are involved is quite different. So the purchase process is different and it's much less emotional. We will go through some basic knowledge based on the process and also the procedures for being a good business to business seller, as opposed to the business to consumer seller, how you might organize your business and your marketing process differently to serve business buyer. So what is business product? It's about a product that is the purchase for the personal use is considered as consumer goods. If the same product is purchased for use in a business, it is a business product. So the key in classification as a business product is intent to use. And then also the size of business market in the US and in the most other countries is substantially exceeds that of the consumer market. So keep in mind that business product is different than a consumer product because it's not something that we consume. Difference between B2C and B2B is the intent use. So what's going to happen with the business to business product is for different uses that can be used for the to make something else. Like you can buy the components, parts, raw materials, and then they can become the part of something else. So if you make a John Deere tractor or airplane, definitely you should buy some of the raw materials and all the parts to operate the organization. And also think about it, I'm at school and then to record this video, I need a computer and then camera. And also for the office, I need the office furniture, or the file cabinets and also the papers. So to run your business or to operate your business, you need those things. So these things also can be required and also result without being any change. So now think about it, that everything that we buy from the Walmart is a purchase from somebody else, then we come and buy. So not all retailers manufacture all those goods and services. They buy things and then they resell them to us in a place that give us more utility and then more convenience. So the key is that the use when you buy something, are you going to make something to make your business more successful or to operate something more smoothly, or are you going to resell it? So if the scenario is that in your organization, for your organization, definitely is the B2B transaction. And then the demand for the B2B sale is often derived from B2C sales in the same supply chain. And more specifically, it is derived demand reflects the link between the consumer's demand for a company's output and then also the company's purchase of the necessary inputs to manufacture or to assemble that particular output. So let's talk about the manufacturers and the service providers first. So they buy raw materials, components, and parts, and then they have their own goods and auxiliary services. So to optimize and increase the efficiency of the process associated with the searching for, analyzing, with the validating information about the parts and components, let me give you examples with the Volkswagen case. So the Volkswagen Group reached out to the IBM's consultants business to get some help for the designing of the B2B integration platform. And then the purchasing agents for the all different 12 brands can now use the Volkswagen's the business platform to communicate with the suppliers for all their transactions. And also for the procurement to logistics. In the resellers case, they are the resellers marketing intermediaries that resell the manufactured products without significantly altering their form. So the wholesalers, they got the products from the manufacturers and then they just resell to the reseller. And then also distributors, also they bought a product and then just sell to the the retail stores. And then retail stores, finally, they got the final products and then resell to the consumers. So they are the examples of the resellers. Third one is the institution. So institution like a hospital, university, or the religious organizations. So they buy some of the products to operate their organization. So they are another entity of the B2B market. The last one is government. So in the most countries, government is one of the largest purchasers of the goods and services. For example, the US federal government spends nearly 4 trillion annually on procuring goods and services. So if you add in what state and the local government spend, these numbers reach like staggering proportions. So if you add in what state and the local government spend, these numbers reach staggering proportions. Now let's talk about omnichannel. Omnichannel was growing very fast in these days. More and more companies are selling both to business and also to customers for their own personal use. So we see Nike selling direct to us, but also they sell the Kohl's and the Walmart, and then everybody else in the sporting goods stores, they sell their equipment to on their website and also by direct. So we see more and more marketers selling through the different channels and then selling other business for sale. And also selling directly to consumers as well. So when you think about the whole context, like Costco, they're the Costco Club, and then they kind of to support the small business, but also we can go there as a consumers and then buy some of the products. So they need also different marketing process. And maybe different product mixes to satisfy both the audiences so maybe they need the different product mixes to satisfy both audiences, to businesses and also the consumers. And in Dell case, most computers in the university is Dell computer, but also you can use Dell computer as a personal use. Probably to dealing with the university, they have a different sales staff and a sales team to deal the different pricing structure when they sell to organization and then when they sell in large quantities. But when they sell to the individual consumers, they just go to the website and then buy the computer. And also it happens in the entertaining business as well. We all know that Walt Disney Corporations, they also sell to us individually. We go to the Disneyland and also the Disney Plus, we have our streaming services. So they sell directly to the consumers, but also they deal with the Netflix. Also, they just sell their contents to the Netflix. And also they sell their contents to the theaters. So like for the entertainment property as well. So they also sell both the B2C, business to consumers, and B2B, business to business. Amazon is another example. So Amazon have the huge business we talk about as the business to consumers. So before we talk about the overview of the strategies, what the Amazon sells, obviously to all of us, we just buy the products, consumer products by the Amazon platform as consumers. But not only the Amazon dealing with the consumer products, they have a great deal of the business and the web services. And then they sell this platform to other business and organization. So keep in mind that the company is also not only being involved with the consumers, but also being involved with the other organizations and other business. So think about as a marketer, if you are performing the marketing function for the organization, the marketing mix that you're going to have to sell to some other business going to be quite different than the marketing mix that when you sell to the personal consumers. So the communication is going to be somewhat different. And then the pricing might be somewhat different, and the quality required to be different. So, just understanding that the dynamics are different, even though that you may be the company that sells both, you may have a different teams that work on the different decisions in a different organizational process. So B2B versus B2C. So I'm gonna give you a video about the B2B versus B2C. So the things, the B2B is normally in the B2B scenario. So you're purchasing the large items in the large orders. There's a buyer and the fewer sellers really. Things are less price sensitive because they just deal with the tight specification. So you know what your organization's needs. And you're not always perhaps looking for the lowest price, but you're looking for something that meets your specification and then your requirements very, very specifically. So normally it works very closely with the people you buy from. And then if you're a seller, you work closely with those customers who have bought before. And then you've got to understand their businesses, like be more kind of consultative salesperson, someone who really gets in there and helps them to successfully with their business. So the decisions are very complex, and then they might be a high risk because it's very high dollar amounts, and also it's going to enter a very particular product. So many different people within a different organization can initiate the purchase or realize that there's a need, and then generally there's a process that you go through if you want to make a large new buy. I will give you more examples in the following slides. So now let's talk about B2C. B2C is more the impersonal mass communication, and then deal with the many personal customers. And then they are more price sensitive. The consumers is compare the price between two products and the products on the shelves. So they are much more price sensitive, and then they order much more small quantities. And then there's many different brands there with the competitions. And then it's more about the personal decision. So it is usually also isolated events, and then we have the vast amount of choice. What are the situations I talk about the B2C marketing is the paradox choice that we talked in the previous chapter. So we have a lot of different methods to choose from. So there's many players out there, and then we usually initiate what we need ourselves, and then also we satisfy our needs and ourselves. So we don't have to involve the whole group, and then we do a lot of the external concessions building before we make the purchase, because it's smaller purchase and it's a more personal. Okay, now let's talk about the buying centers. So the buying center or the buying group are all the people who are involved in this decision. So those scenarios are involved in the B2B decision, and then for a large new business purchase. So usually there's organization chart that says these are people who do that. It's really a functional assignment. So it's an assignment that usually there's a task group or the small task group that gets together then to buy certain items. So now let's talk about the roles in buying center. These are the buying groups and then the task force that are put together. So that's a lot of different roles. There's an initiator, the person that says, hey, I just think we need this. And other people might influence that role. So there can be the gatekeepers. And the gatekeepers can be your purchasing agents or the administrative assistants who keep salespeople away. And then you don't want something, then if you're a seller, if you're a person who's selling to this organization, you're going to be critically interested in the decider who exactly is going to decide as something that's selling in the business to business context. You're going to need to understand that what's in your organization. There's a person who does that in the actual purchasing, and then there can be the user. So those are the different roles that you might be aware of. So just the wrapping up, initiator is the person who suggests the purchase, and then influencers or the evaluator is the person can help define the specification and then provide the information for evaluating options. And then gatekeepers are the group members who regulate the flow of the information and the open purchasing agents. The decider is the person with the power to choose or to approve the selection. The purchaser is the person who negotiates the purchase. And then the last one, users, are the members of the organization who actually use the products. So let's talk about examples in the medical context. Let's say you broke your elbow. So first, the initiator, when you seek the treatment from your physicians for a broken elbow, he or she initiates the buying process by determining the products and the services that will be the best to address and treat your illness or injury. Then next, the influencer, her first instructions about the elbow mat screws came from the company sales representative who visited her office to demonstrate how the elbow mat screws are superior to the other products. Then the decider side, the hospital, even though your doctor requests the elbow mat screws, the hospital ultimately be responsible for deciding whether they will buy the elbow mats or not. And then the buyer side, the actual buyer of the screw will likely to be the hospital materials manager who is charged with the buying and then maintaining inventory for those hospital in the most cost-effective manner. Then user, patient. Ultimately, the buying process for this procedure will be greatly affected by the user, which is the patient here. And then the next gatekeeper, your insurance company believe that the elbow mat screws are too expensive, and then other screws deliver equally effective results. If they think in the way, then they might refuse those reimbursed to the hospital in the full, or they will just reimburse partly to use the elbow mat screws. So I provide the definitions about roles in the buying centers for each player. Please read them and review it. So although the B2B and B2C buying process are similar, this chapter highlights some of the key differences. So just like the consumer's buying process, the B2B process begins with the need recognition. The buying organization recognize needs through either internal or the external sources. And then there's the unfilled need. So the sellers actively work to prompt those needs recognition. Let's give you the examples with the university needs to buy tablets. In this context, after recognizing the need and then considering the alternative solution, university wrote a list of the potential specifications and the vendors might use to develop their proposals. Then they initiate the RFP, which is the request for proposal. This is a common process through the organizations to invite the alternative vendors or suppliers to bid on the supplying their required components or the specification. So the purchasing company may simply post its RFP needs on its website, or the work through with the various B2B web portals, or they send this information the preferred vendors directly. The small companies may just have the lack of the ability to attract the broad attention to their requests, so they just might turn in those requests in the web portal, in like kind of internal websites. The purpose is just showing the starting point for the users to connect in this web. Then the company applied the different strategies for the vendor selection. So some always choose the lowest price, but at the other time, others choose to apply more the complicated selection criteria. Like government users, they provide the contractor programs. So they decide to offer kind of small minority-owned firms with a greater opportunity. And the next stage, the B2B buying process, then the company places the order to their preferred supplier. And then this order includes a detailed descriptions of the goods, price, and delivery dates, and then some cases, penalties for some non-compliances. So that's this supplier then send those acknowledgements, then they receive this order and then fill it by the specified date. So now let's talk about what we see in B2B. Basically, what we're going to see in B2B is that everything is pretty much gone to the content marketing. So it's about the Google search. And then I actually have you watch a video in the next slides from the Google that talks about the buyers. So even the search process will be less salesman dragging. They just go to the office to office. It will be also more the connecting with the people who are digitally and then virtually. Then they are figuring out how to make the business process work. So as a business buyer, you don't want to just waste a lot of your time. So you won't be able to search for the information what you're looking for. So they will just go to the website and then get the effective and efficient information for what your product specification are and then what you're looking for. So you got just kind of great content marketing. And then so you will have some SEO and then also learn about the product category that you are in, and then you want to have a pretty good brain work. So people just will go to type your name and then just search the company as opposed to just look for your product category. And as you know, content marketing you can learn from the digital and internet marketing class. You can take in the next semester in which the class I teach. The other things that we have seen a lot is employee advocacy and social selling, because we all connect to online and then we connect in the social media. So, you know, the LinkedIn is very good examples. We connect with the people within the industry. And I honestly also use LinkedIn a lot to connect with other employees and then people in the field. So we see more employee advocacy and then social selling, people who might take on the platform, and then they really just good representation to their organization and also their products, what they sell in the network. So that's more and more going on. And then the next thing is the big data. And there's so much data information out there. So in B2B sales, we can really just mine the data effectively and efficiently. And then because all the sales is stored in the data, is recorded. So it's not just like the people coming to just cash and then buy just packs of gums. Every sales is recorded, and then we have a lot of information about the companies, that what they buy, and then when they buy. So every transactions, it can be used for kind of the customer relationship management. And additionally, we used to think that B2B marketing is pretty slow, and then consumer marketing is really fast. There's a social changes things here very quickly. Now, because of the big data, the feedback system and the growth in the technology is pretty quick. So you can be agile and then can be very, very quick in the B2B marketing as well. So you have a user panels that give you feedback and the information on the product development, that's just let them know what they're doing. And then also the feedback back and forth, it doesn't take months and weeks to get informations back from the users and then back from your buyers. So B2B is much more agile and fast moving than it had been in what it used to be in the past. And then we see more and more strategic alliance. The companies realize that they may need a partnership with somebody else in the supply chain or in the manufacturing systems to do a better job. So it could help us be more competitive, make a relationship builds, and partially with the partnerships or not necessarily ownerships. So for example, the Coca-Cola has a partnership with Dunkin' Donuts. They certainly don't own Dunkin' Donuts. Of course not. But the Coca-Cola provides all the ready-to-drink to Dunkin' Donuts, because Dunkin' Donuts own their stores, but they don't own the bottlers. But the Coca-Cola has all the bottlers with their supply chain, and so they just have to make the great connections in the supply chain, then they manage all these distributions for the drinks. So this is the examples about the top marketing trends in the B2B business. I recommend you to watch this video. So lastly, there are 3 buying scenarios. If you're someone who's doing business buying first, there's a new buy. New buys, when you have something that you never bought before or you put together, then the team to make sure that they address and uncover every issues that can be problematic or the important within an organization. So let's say you are in the scenario that involves in buying technology packages, both in a software that you run the technology and the hardware that to make the decisions as a new buy. Now, of course, this is a technology product, so later you might need some new updates or the new upgrades of the product, and also even with the hardware, it might need some upgrades. And in this case, that we need to determine that we are going to go with the software upgrade or not go with the software upgrade, or we also need a more specification, different specification of the hardware. So sometimes there are the modify revise that's where the technology take place and you need to make some decisions, and then you need some of the changes by slightly, and then just you need some amount of the collaboration within an organization, and that's that you have done it. And then it will be much more restricted, or it will be less time intensive for all the people in the group in the rebuy. But there's still maybe something that you make some modify. You need to do the modify rebuy, and that's where you want to get some changes in the original service or the technology enhancement. With the modify rebuy, you don't have to start with the ground zero to do it. But in the straight rebuy, you don't need to make any changes for your previous order, so you just reorder the same goods and the services without looking for the new informations or the investigating the other products. So they just automatically refill it. The straight rebuys are the other type of the buying situation that require the least amount of the complexity, and then probably the highest level of the automation.
So to sum up, oftentimes that business companies, especially if they are manufacturers, they must decide whether to make something or buy from the other supplier. If the company decide to buy the product instead of that they just produce it or making it, then purchase will be a new buy or a modified rebuy and a straight rebuy. And that's all for this B2B marketing chapter. Thank you for watching.